Welcome to the Trader's Journey podcast, the podcast that will take us on a journey to grow from a struggling trader to an independent and profitable one. I'm your host, Amber.
And I'm Peter.
We are individual traders trying to make it in the markets and want to share our experience and the lessons learned along the way. Our goal is for you to learn from our mistakes and profit along the way.
Grab your notebooks and sharpen your pencils because we are going on a journey. Welcome back to episode 6 of the Trader's Journey podcast. In this episode, we are going to be talking about our habits and routine, not just in trading, but in our daily life too. So Amber, what are some trading habits or routines that you have that either you want to change or improve on, or something that you're doing well in?
Man, that's a really, really hard question. I mean, there's so much that I need to continue to work on and so much that I have worked on. And I'm sure there's a lot of things that I don't even know that I need to work on. But one thing I've done better at is being able to move some of my stop losses. I was browsing the internet and I came across a book called Power of Habits, and it's by Charles Duhigg. And he describes a habit as a cue, routine, reward loop. And what the cue is to why you do something, the routine is what you do, and the reward is the feeling or outcome of that particular routine. So like one of my bad habits was I would take large trade size, and as soon as I would be in profitable territory, I would move my stop to break even and I would just get stopped out. And the reason I did that was because I wasn't in a position to lose any more money, but that kind of limited my profitability. And also, it actually led to more losses because sometimes I wouldn't get a favorable fill. So what I ended up doing to fix that was I would take smaller share size, as we talked about in previous episodes, and I would move my stop up to break even later after the price had moved into reasonable profitability, where I had a little bit of a cushion between the existing price and then where my break even would be. So I started to do that consistently. Well, I wouldn't say consistently. I started to do that consciously for a while until I started doing it without even knowing about it, right? Because, what are habits? The clinical definition of a habit is an action that has become automatic, right? Or characteristic by repetition.
Right.
So I did it so much that I didn't even realize I was doing it. So making one small change in the trading, like just decreasing share size and just waiting a little bit, having a little bit more patience, I've been finding a lot more consistency in my trading and a lot more profitability. And to me, the reward is more confidence. The original reward of the feeling of not losing any more money, but also I have an added reward of feeling more confident in my trading. So that's just one of the bad habits that I did fix. I think I still continue to need to work on. But what about you? What are some of the bad habits that you've had?
Well, I actually want to touch back on something that you said. So
sure.
When you're talking about that you're setting your stops so that you break even, now does that mean that you have already made profit, or are you in a losing trade?
So this means the trade is currently in a profitable position. I haven't taken any partials. I haven't taken any profit, but the price, I have some unrealized profit.
Okay, but I mean, wouldn't you want to, set your stop loss at break even so then you can capture what you've already made and so you don't lose any more? Because I mean, just setting that stop in general, I mean, that's a good trading habit. Is it not?
No, right. So what I was saying was I do set my stop after I'm in some reasonable profit. So before I would set the stop like where it was just in a little bit of profit and it would just pull back and stop me out. But now, since I have smaller share size, I can hold the trade a little longer and let the price go a little bit more in my favor than I did before. Then I would move my stop up to break even so I can better manage the trade. And then, of course, if the stock continues to go in my favor, I'll take my partial or I'll trail my stop or do something. But until then, I'll just move it into break even when there is a reasonable amount of cushion that I feel comfortable with.
Okay, that makes sense. So, one of my bad habits that I had was I was terrible at accepting loss. I've recently realized that taking those losses is part of the game. I mean, you're not going to find any successful trader that hasn't take a significant loss in their trading career. What I've done to better handle those losses is by taking some mental breaks, taking some days off. And I mentioned this in a previous episode where if I have 3 red days in a row, I'm going to take that 4th day off, because trading consecutive red days, I mean, that's going to put you in a slump, and that's going to put you in a bad mood. And building up, you're going to burst one day. And I can truthfully say that I've had many days where I've had an outbreak, and it is not fun. So for my mental sake, I am going to take some mental days off and rest my mind and come back fresh, the next day. And it's just little things like that where you can just do things for yourself physically and mentally that will change your trading drastically.
Oh, and I can talk about that too, because as a beginning trader, struggling trader, we all have a bad habit of not being able to accept a loss. It just shouldn't happen, right? But unfortunately, it does. That's just part of the business that we're in, or we're trying to get in. And I'll tell you what, the way I got over that same bad habit of not accepting loss is that, one of the mentors that I follow, his name is Rob Booker. You can find him on YouTube, but I highly look up to this guy and his teachings. So one of the things he mentioned was, as a beginning trader, one of the things was just get into a trade. Doesn't matter what it is, take a small position size, and if it's in a loss, let it go into a loss. And I was like, whoa, what is that all about? Why is he saying this? But I actually did that. I took a trade, multiple trades actually, and then they went into a losing position. And, small share size, whether it, in Forex, it's a micro lot, or in equities, let's say one share. And if it went into a losing position, it actually forced myself to accept that I was in a loss, and I had to find my way out. I had to take additional trades where I was a little bit more methodical in adding to the position to sort of average down the cost. And eventually I was able to take all those losing positions into profitability or break even. But it actually put me into a mindset of, oh my God, I'm in a loss and I'm okay with it. I mean, it's a small loss, but I think as you progress as a trader, you find consistency, your account gets bigger, your losses, you can withstand larger and larger losses because you have a larger account, whatever percentage that may be. That was something I did frequently, willingly taking losses and trying to get myself out of it. And now when I'm in a loss, in a perpetual drawdown of, $50 to $150, $200, over a long period of time, I'm a little bit more okay with it now than I was when I first started.
Yeah, I really like that idea. And for some of you listeners who don't know, me and Amber, we get into a lot of the same Forex trades. And recently we've been stuck in sort of a bad trade. And this is exactly what we're talking about. Because over your trading career, you're going to be getting into a ton and ton of bad trades. And you're going to have to work them out. And you're going to have to build a skill set and, get a trade plan to get out of bad trades. I mean, it's going to happen regardless. So why not practice it with some small share size?
So, I guess the takeaway here is for, just to better yourself and to get rid of your bad habits. First, you need to identify them. And I'm not saying just thinking about them, but you need to write them down. You need to make them tangible. Write down your trading bad habits, and then also write down why you do those bad habits. And the reason you did those bad habits, how did it make you feel? What is that cue routine reward cycle for you? Figure out what you need to change in your routine where you have the same reward outcome of making yourself feel better because you're not in a losing position, or you may have some free time or something like that. After you do something, what is that routine that's going to make you better? And that routine being a good habit that you want to build versus a bad habit. And let's say, for example, it's, like you mentioned, revenge trading. Sometimes you feel good. Well, you actually lie to yourself. But I know when I revenge traded, I felt good trying to force, hitting that button, taking a larger share size and trying to, force my will on the market. And my reward was I'm feeling a little bit good that, this might make me feel a little bit better, or it might bring me back into profitability, but I was dead wrong. But now when I want to revenge trade, my routine is I shut down my platform and I walk away. And my reward is so much better knowing that, hey, I'm out of the trade. I go take a walk. I listen to maybe an audiobook or something like that to relax my mind. And by the time I come back to my computer, I'm fresh. I can get into a second trade, or not second trade, but different trades and look at the market from like a little bit more fresh eyes.
Right. And, personally, I sort of see my trading and my personal life, as kind of two separate things. And what I do in my everyday life can totally affect my trading. And some things that I'm going to start working on is I'm going to start eating healthy. I'm going to start drinking some more water. And I'm definitely going to try to work on my sleep patterns because my sleep is absolutely terrible. I only get, on average, a few hours a night, 3 to 4 hours. And that's just not healthy. And I always say to myself, I'll catch up on sleep on the weekends, but there's no such thing as catching up on sleep. And just changing those few things, eating healthy, drinking more water, getting more sleep, I think that will help my trading by a mile.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you're talking about having a trading plan, it's, like they say, if you're taught a profitable strategy by somebody who's making money with it, chances are you're going to fail. Why? Because even a trading strategy is part of you. You have to incorporate yourself into the trading. So yeah, of course, if you make good habits in your personal life, it will inherently make your trading better. I have the same issue. I don't sleep much either. I'm a very restless sleeper, and I tend to, go to bed late because I'm either watching some charts, doing some, analysis before I go to bed. And by the time I know it, it's midnight and I got to get up at, 5:30 the next morning. One thing I'm trying to do now is get into bed a little bit earlier because if my mind's not fresh, like I feel like I'm doing something good that I'm reviewing charts at night, but it's too late. I'm sacrificing my sleep in order to be a better trader, but I think it's the opposite. I need to get more sleep to be a better trader. The chart analysis could work, or I need to work it into my daily routine earlier. Maybe while I'm on the commute home, because I commute on the train from work, I can open up charts then from the previous day and take a look at things.
Right. And you mentioned routine. And as far as that goes, I am not a routine person. I do not like doing the same thing every day. That's why I'm trying to create financial freedom so I can get out of the rat race. But I do know that some other people like routine. And if that's you, then it is very important that you can get down a well thought out and laid out routine that you can follow every day that can keep you organized and put you on a straight path to success. But for me personally, I don't like routine. But what I mentioned before, those other things, I'm definitely going to start implementing into my life.
So I got a question about that. Is that routine, you don't like the routine of the rat race, or you don't like the routine that's needed to get to your financial freedom, or both?
Well, as far as the rat race, I just don't like going to work and, working for someone else and putting in 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. I just don't like doing that. And for like my personal life, it kind of ties into my eating habits, I guess, because I eat whenever I feel like I want to eat. Like I don't eat the traditional breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I that's not healthy for me because I feel like I'll overeat if I do that. So I guess I go against the grain by just sort of eating whenever I feel hungry, I guess, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, it does. It does. For me personally, I think, for me, the routine of the rat race and the routine of financial freedom, they're different. I want to break the routine of me getting up in the morning, commuting an hour and a half to work, hour and a half to come back. I just don't want to do that anymore. That's the routine I want to break. But for me, I'm okay doing a routine that's going to get me to financial freedom, A routine being good habits, right? A routine being going to bed a little earlier. A routine being maybe getting up a little bit earlier, and doing some exercise in the morning, or a routine of doing some chart analysis on my commute home, or just doing whatever. So a routine that's going to benefit me. There's I forgot what book it was. I think it was Tim Ferriss's book, 4 Hour Work Week. He talks about talks about the different types of stresses in your life. There's distress, and then there's eustress. And distress is stress that's gonna cause it's a bad type of stress, right? Because it's a stress that you go through that doesn't make you better. And then there's something called eustress, which is stress you go through that actually makes you better. So, for example, when you're at the gym and you're working out, you're putting yourself through eustress, right? Because it sucks at the time, but the outcome is going to benefit you later on. So, same thing goes for changing your habits and routines to achieve financial freedom or consistent profitability in your trading, where you have to put yourself through some eustress to get a better outcome at the end.
That's interesting. I might have to read that book.
Oh, it's an amazing book. It'll change your life. So overall, habits is a super important thing in your trading. And again, it's just not for trading. It's for yourself as well. You got to better yourself, and you're going to better your trading. You're going to better your trading. You're eventually going to better yourself. In my opinion, they go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. So make small incremental changes in your habits and routines, and you're going to be successful. Keep working at these habits, no matter how hard these habits are to break, because eventually, if you keep working at it, eventually you're going to get to a point where you're going to start having these good habits, and you're not going to even realize that what those bad habits were, because you've completely changed it over time. And then once you've changed that bad habit to a good habit, you move on to the next one in your list, and you just keep going. Because no matter what, we are, as humans, we're not perfect. We always have some bad habits, and there's always something that we need to change. We constantly need to be adapting to our own bad habits, just like we constantly need to be adapting to the markets.
Right. And it's important that you don't overwhelm yourself with all of your bad habits. I mean, just write them all down and take one at a time, and, slowly work down your list, and I guarantee that you will start seeing some turnaround in your trading. So with that being said, thank you guys for listening.
Bye, guys.